Joining me is Kevin Lacy, a panelist on today's discussion about self-regulation. I'm Joanne Liu, reporting from the 2014 IADC World Drilling Conference in Vienna. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
So what role do human factors play in process safety?
Well, I think we've learned from major incidents, both in our industry and other industries, there is always a human factor. And that's a very broad term. And so it could mean something like competency. It could mean something in terms of the process that people are supposed to carry out. So it is clearly one of the key lessons that we learned from our industry and other industry in terms of major accidents. I applaud the efforts that we're making right now to improve competency, but at the end of the day, we have to recognize that all humans are possible. They can make errors, and so they're not perfect. And so we have to have systems that not only attempt to make them competent, but have others observe them, peers help them out, make decisions. They have to feel comfortable in terms of raising issues or asking questions. So it's both competency, but it's also their capabilities and their experience and the system that they work in.
Oftentimes, processes are considered ineffective. How can industry address that?
Well, I think, again, learnings from other industries in our industry, it is pretty rare to find an incident and to be able to say the process did not exist or it wasn't adequate. So it always kind of comes back to, well, why wasn't it effective? And I think that what we learn is sometimes the process might be too complex and the individual trying to carry out the task didn't understand it. It might be competency. It could be it's just simply too complex. So these processes, to be effective, they have to be well understood. They have to be reinforced, and that's a reinforcement that comes from both the individuals and their peers and their supervisors to use the processes, but making them clear, making them simple, and consistency. And it's one of the things we talked about in the panel. We have a lot of standards, but not standardization, and that would be one big thing we could move towards, is one set of guidelines under one governing body.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps for industry?
Well, I think that probably leads into the other two areas, and one of those is to be able to bring, similar to IADC does for the drilling contractors, to bring the producers into a common body in terms of governing the standards and rules, and then collaborating among the operators to implement those standards and rules in their operations. So to me, that's one of the key steps. The other is really in these human factors, and so it's everything from the competency aspects of the human factors, but it's also in terms of communication tools, skills, team building, leadership development, and so that's also a key issue. You get back to then the final set of things, which is really around policing or regulating. And so that is best done by the individual and their teams and their organizations in combination with the regulators themselves. And so it's got to be kind of self-assurance and self-review, and that's very effective, and in combination with the regulators. And then finally, we don't want to blame individuals, but we need to have clear rules and hold people accountable at all levels to those rules, as other industries do. Pilots, stockbrokers, lawyers have to work to industry rules to maintain their positions or their livelihood.
Well, Kevin, thanks so much for sharing with us some of your insights today.
Very welcome.
Thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org.